Now, allow me to introduce Professor Algernon Double-Barrel something.
This is my esteemed colleague, Marcus Markington, the third Marquis of Marksford.
Indeed. Now, today, we have been employed, all the way from 1948, by this school, to make sure that the adults are aware of the dangers of life.
Spit it out. Spit it out. No eating in class.
Tusk. Right, 50 lines in Latin, sempertum caput in tum.
Yay!
Now then, if I may begin. Would you mind, Algernon? Jim, who ran away from his nurse and was subsequently eaten by a lion. There was a boy whose name was Jim. His friends were very good to him. They gave him tea and cakes and jam and slices of delicious ham and chocolate with pink inside and little tricycles to ride through and read him stories through and through and even took him to the zoo. But there it was, the dreadful fate he fell near, which I now relate. You know, at least you ought to know, for I have often told you so, that children never are allowed to leave their nurses in a crowd. Now this was Jim's especial foible. He ran away when he was able. And on this inauspicious day, he slipped his hand and ran away. He hadn't gone a yard when bang! And with open jaws a lion sprang, and hungrily began to eat the boy, beginning at his feet. Now just imagine how it feels when first your toes and then your heels, and then by gradual degrees, your shins and ankles, calves and knees, and slowly eaten bit by bit. No wonder Jim detested it. No wonder that he shouted "Hi!" The honest keeper heard his cry. Though very fat, he almost ran to help the little gentleman. "Ponto!" he ordered as he came, for Ponto was the lion's name. "Ponto!" he cried with angry frown. "Let go, sir! Down, sir, down! I mean it, down, down!" The lion made a sudden stop and let the dainty morsel drop, and slunk reluctant back to his cage, snarling with disappointed rage. And when he bent him over Jim, the honest keeper's eyes were dim, the lion having reached his head. The miserable boy was dead. When nurse informed his parents, they were more concerned than I can say. His mother, as she dried her eyes, said, "Well, it gives me no surprise. He would not do as he was told." His father, who was self-controlled, bade all the children round attend to James's miserable end, and always keep a hold of nurse for fear of something worse.
You've all quite finished.
Okay, have a good time. Straight back. Straight back.
I'm not going to begin until there's complete silence. Not to stand for this nonsense in one of my assemblies. I'm going to read you a tale about a disgusting little girl called Matilda, who told lies and was burned to death. Matilda told such dreadful lies it made one gasp and stretch one's eyes. Her aunt, who from her earliest youth had kept a strict regard for truth, attempted to believe Matilda. The very effort nearly killed her, and would have done so had she not discovered this infirmity. For once towards the close of day, Matilda, growing tired of play, and finding she was left alone, went tiptoe to the telephone, and summoned the immediate aid of London's noble fire brigade. Within an hour, the gallant band was pouring in on every hand, from Putney, Hackney Downs and Bow, with courage high and hearts aglow. They galloped, roaring through the town, "Matilda's house is burning down!" Inspired by British cheers and loud proceeding from the frenzied crowd, they ran their ladders through a score of windows on the ballroom floor, peculiar pains to souse the pictures up and down the house, until Matilda's art succeeded in showing them they were not needed, and even then she had to pay to make the men go away. It happened that a few weeks later, her aunt was off to the theatre to see that interesting play, The Second Mrs. Tanqueray. She had refused to take her niece to hear this entertaining piece, a deprivation just and wise to punish her for telling lies. That night, the fire did break out. You should have heard Matilda shout. You should have heard her scream and bawl and throw the window up and call to people passing in the street. The rapidly increasing heat encouraged her to obtain their confidence, all in vain. For every time she shouted, "Fire!" they only answered, "Little liar!" And therefore, when her aunt returned, Matilda and the house were burned. I think we can safely say that we won't be seeing any of you at our college.
Indeed.
Thank you.